Power Project. What up? Hope you guys are surviving the quarantine. Today is day, actually, I don't know what day it is, but whatever the case, while you guys are chilling at home, we have an awesome episode for you today with our boy, Evan Carmichael. And, since you are at home, you're going to get a ton of entertainment from today's episode. But what's great is it's going to lead to a bunch more entertainment when you guys follow up with Evan Carmichael and his YouTube channel. Evan is an entrepreneur. He's a motivational speaker. And like I said, he has an incredible YouTube channel. He'll take someone like Jay-Z or Bruce Lee or Muhammad Ali, some of the biggest names in whether it be entertainment or fitness, even someone like Steve Jobs, and he'll actually show early footage of them before they were anybody famous or anybody successful. And it really is extremely motivating. And in today's episode, we asked him some interesting questions. And I really want you guys to pay attention to what he says specifically about being patient or impatient as he explains it. Like I said, really, really interesting episode. We think you guys are going to get a ton of value from this conversation. Links to Evan's YouTube channel and social media will be down in the YouTube description and iTunes show notes. Please follow up with him. Let him know what you guys think of today's episode. And since we are still all stuck in quarantine, like we said in yesterday's episode, I should say yesterday's intro, Mark Bell decided to try to help everybody out by giving everybody a deal on slingshots and hip circles. When you combine the two, you're going to get 20% off. Again, that's at markbellslingshot.com. We're trying to do whatever we can to help everybody out. On top of that, Mark is actually giving everybody 30 days free of markbell.com. The normal free trial is 7 days, but he said, nope, let's go ahead and do a whole 30 days. And what markbell.com is, basically you get all of Mark Bell's daily workouts. Every single day, a brand new workout. He has the whole program, the whole scheme, everything, reps and sets, all that good stuff. Everything for you to view daily. What's different now is he's actually implementing a lot more with the slingshot, a lot more with the hip circle, and a lot more with body weight. He's trying to give out as much stuff to you as possible for free right now. Again, all you have to do is just log in, markbell.com, put your email address, and you have access to the entire website for 30 full days. Highly recommend you guys take advantage of that. Personally, I've been using markbell.com as my training partner for the past pretty much since it became available, and my progress is it's going well. I'm really, really feeling good, and I'm happy that something like that is available. So please make sure you guys take advantage of that. And real quick, thank you to Piedmontese for sponsoring this episode. Mark's doing 100 days straight of carnivore, and I can tell you the easiest way to go about it is with Piedmontese beef. I just cracked open some of their ground beef, and I'm thinking, oh, it's just it's ground beef. Well, it's just gonna taste like ground beef. I have no idea what they did to it, but it tastes incredible. Gave some to my fiance, and she's just like, "What the heck?" It kind of leaves us dumbfounded, because we're like, it's just ground beef. Why does it taste so much better? Like I said in a previous podcast, I went to Costco just to simply get ground beef for Monster Mash, and they were completely out. Well, now I'm just going to get it straight from Piedmontese, and I don't have to go outside waiting all those crazy lines and deal with just the whole pandemic. I'm just going to stay home and have the food delivered straight to my door. You guys really need to give this a shot. Head over to Piedmontese.com. That's PIEDMONTESE.com. At checkout, enter promo code Power Project for 25% off your order. And if your order is $99 or more, you get free 2-day shipping. Again, really think you guys are going to dig today's episode. If you guys like it, please reach out to us on social media. All the links for all our social media accounts, including Evan Carmichael's and his YouTube channel, will be down in the YouTube description and iTunes show notes. Let us know what you guys think, and please enjoy the show.
I know. I didn't. I didn't go to that guy, but I wonder what guy I gave you. I wonder where I tried to send you to.
Yeah. Never ended up going.
Yeah.
My shoulder's feeling great, so.
Oh, that's good. Mm-hmm. Yeah, I go to Michelle Chu. She's in Davis. She's at Fit House Davis. I go there. She does a great job.
What kind of body work is it exactly? Is it just massaging or
it's kind of like
tissue stuff?
Yeah, it's kind of like ART type stuff, I guess you'd say.
Okay.
She doesn't really move you around that much, though. Usually active release is they're working on your shoulder, and they'll have you do rotator cuff stuff as they're working through it. She doesn't have you move that much. She's kind of digs in there.
And out of every chiropractor or any kind of body work I've ever gotten done, she can crack my neck better than anybody.
Oh, you've gone to her too?
Yeah, dude, and she does it weird. Like normally you're either sitting up or you're laying on your back.
Mm-hmm.
You're actually laying on your stomach, and then she just picks your chin up and then just, I'm like, huh, so good. Like I would pay just for that neck crack like every couple days.
She's great.
Yeah, maybe I should check out Michelle Chu.
I get addicted to it. You know, I stopped going for a while just because, like, I don't know, my luck runs out with how much free time I have or whatever. Mm-hmm. And then I stopped going. But then as soon as I get back on track with it, I remember how good it feels. I'm like, damn, I need to go. I mean, little things like just frees up my hamstrings and stuff like that. My hamstrings have been kind of tight from like running.
Yeah.
And you just leave there and you're like, I feel a million times better. Why don't I just come here all the time? Mm-hmm. So I was actively doing that for a while, but I was also like beating the crap out of myself because I was still competing. So it was, you know, she would just fix, you know, stuff that I would break that week, basically, you know?
Yeah.
And now it's more like maintenance. I don't really have any problems. She could say, hey, what's wrong? And I could just say, this is like a little tight, or this doesn't feel to be like optimal. And then she can tweak that. And that's much easier. And then usually that doesn't get hurt again. So like with my shoulder, it totally felt stuck. I was doing some overhead presses yesterday. I benched yesterday. It didn't hurt at all during bench, but it just felt like it was real forward. It felt like it was just like interior, you know, like an interior rotation, you know, forward. It felt like it was stuck that way. She worked on the back of it. She worked on the front of it. It feels good now.
I'm assuming now that you're like doing a lot of yoga, you're moving a little bit better, that it's not, I guess when you go there, you do feel better, but it's not like so much better like it was before, right?
Yeah, definitely. Well, before there was like a lot of pain, you know, when she would work on stuff. Now there's a lot less. I mean, that's a good indicator that you're pretty messed up. When someone starts pushing on you and everything hurts all the time, that's a good indication that you're probably kind of overdone. You're kind of probably overtrained. Maybe you're not sleeping well, maybe not hydrated. Like you really shouldn't be in that state, you know, here and there. To have that here and there totally makes sense, especially when you're trying to go, you know, you're trying to go hard, you're going to run into that, but it shouldn't be too bad.
It shouldn't be. But yeah, it was like 2.5 years ago. I had this, I don't know, maybe 3 years ago, Dr. Hannah used to go to this ART guy like weekly or whatever. But I was like, I wasn't doing too much like stretching and stuff on my own. So when I started that, like I haven't been to one in a really long time. I'd probably, like if I went there, I'd probably see some improvement, but I'm curious how much I would actually see, you know, curious how much of a difference it would make.
I would say that people, like, they shouldn't really need it, you know, that your training should be such that it shouldn't be so screwed up that you're messing yourself up all the time. However, I do think, here's what I think. I think that if you paid $30 to lay down on a table for 30 minutes, you would get great results from that. You know what I mean? Like if someone just said, Nsima, go lay over there, like go chill. And you just laid down, and even if somebody didn't even touch you, I think you'd get great results even from that alone.
Explain that, please.
Well, just chilling out, just relaxing. Just like, hey, go over there and relax. And you're like by yourself. This gives you some time to relax, although you're kind of talking to the therapist a little bit back and forth, but it's super low stress. You are paying for something that you know that can be helpful, like at least to your knowledge. It could be damaging. Who knows? I don't know. But to your knowledge, this is going to help enhance things that you're trying to do something for yourself. It's like a form of self-care, but you went out of your way to pay extra money for somebody else to assist you. Because real self-care would be like you stretching before you go to bed or something like that. You're assigning a value to it because you're like, to me, this is worth $60 or $80 or whatever the amount is that you pay. And that's your value assignment. Like, yep, I paid that because it's worth it. And I did my thing for today. I'm good. And I think it almost automatically makes you feel better, even if it didn't do anything.
Yeah. It's in my opinion, it's sort of like when you go to the movie theaters and you have like the absolute best nap ever because you can't look at your phone because you don't want to be mean. And then it's cold, and especially if like the seats that you can, you know, recline, it's just
snoozing
like
in the movie theater,
just out. Oh my gosh, the Batman Lego movie is the most amazing movie to sleep to.
You make me so mad.
Why?
Yeah, I hate people that sleep during movies in theaters.
Dude,
like, I'm like, you paid to be here. Why are you asleep? I hate you so much right now.
Me of all
I think
people,
when you have kids,
like,
it's like kind of different sometimes.
yeah, a little bit. Yeah,
you go to like horrible movies on purpose, and you're like, I'm just going to nap. Like, this is going to be amazing.
Yeah, I mean, it's kind of like what Mark's talking about. Like, I'm paying to have nobody bother me for the next, whatever, 90 minutes if it's a hour and a half.
Mm-hmm.
And yeah, it's my time. I paid for my one seat. I can do what I want with it. If it's a good enough movie that doesn't bore me to sleep, then I'll stay watching it and be stress free or whatever. Or I'll just pass out and get the best nap I've ever had.
Seems like you can sleep pretty good. Like when we go on trips and stuff, you just close your eyes. But I don't know if you're actually sleeping or not. Can you just fall asleep pretty easy?
On on the plane, I try to stay on the longer flights, I would sleep for maybe an hour or an hour and a half. Then I'd wake up and I'd be able to start reading. But I usually try to bring a book with me to read. And it's like, well, once we get on the plane, I have to at least sleep for 30 minutes.
Oh, so a book is a killer, man. A book will put you to sleep right away.
Makes me so mad. I'm like, fuck, I'm trying to read. And I read the same page for 8 minutes. I'm like, fuck it, I'm going to sleep.
Yeah.
It doesn't happen.
I was listening to it on the way back from Columbus. I was listening to a Joe Dispenza audiobook. I have no clue what any of it was talking about. I would snap out of it and he was talking about meditation.
Yeah.
And then I'd snap out of it and he's talking about something totally different. I'm just like, subconsciously, I'm reading this book. Mm-hmm. Maybe something will click one day and I will have no idea why I decided to do this instead of that. And it's probably because something in that book stuck with me. But yeah, I mean, it's just, I can't get restful sleep on a plane. It's just I doze off and then boom, I'm back. Doze off. Oh, okay.
The worst, they wake you up sometimes, hit you or whatever, your arms in the aisle.
Fucking hell, man. You saw that happen to me so many times.
They nail you with the cart and stuff like that too. You're like, shit, man. Or sometimes they ask you a question. You're like, I was fucking sleeping. And it's hard sometimes to fall asleep,
Yeah, that, or if I don't know, somebody lets you borrow their iPhone charger, and with about 2 hours left of the flight, Nsima wakes Smokey up abruptly too, not softly.
Like it's emergency.
It wasn't abruptly. Smokey was exaggerating.
I saw it.
It was like this. It was a nice tap on the shoulder. It was. I didn't hit him on the shoulder to wake him up.
It was enough to grab him and shake him.
Oh God.
He wakes up. Smokey's like, "Here's your charger." He's just like, dude, I'm asleep. Why are you giving it back?
It was a lapse in thought. I literally wasn't thinking. And after I gave it to him, I'm like, I could have waited till the end of the flight.
It's just funny because, dude, I totally get it though. We're so drained. It's just, but it was just funny that it happened,
Yo, okay, let's talk about this real quick. This was the first weekend or the first time in a long time where I was, we were forced to sit for long periods of time. And this was the first time that I actually started feeling some lower back pain. Because of all that sitting, I was like, shoot, people sit this much, and I haven't had lower back pain in a long, long time because I'm usually standing when I'm working. I'm not sitting so much. And that shit, that's, if you want to give yourself some self-care, stand for more hours during the day.
I think it's really the opposite of what you've been doing, I think is going to be the thing that's going to shock your body the most. So if you had a job out of nowhere where you're on your feet all day, the same could be said, your back might bother you because you're not used to that, But yeah, in our case, man, when we're sitting down for a long time, we're on a plane, we're in a car. I would imagine most people too, when you're just not able to move for a long time, you're not able to just, extend your hips and just be upright for a little while.
Yeah.
It feels terrible.
Mm-hmm.
You feel rounded over and, then plus we're on our phones and your head's down and it just feels like death.
Yeah. It was not good. It was not good at all. But feeling back to normal, back home, everything's good.
Yeah, they're starting to shut everything down. NBA's shut down. I think, we're going to see all the schools be shut down shortly, just a matter of time, I think. I mean, you got spring break and stuff like that coming up. One thing I do wonder is, let's just say because there's no cure in sight, so they don't have a vaccine, and they're not going to have one for a while probably.
Yep.
So, what would they do? Does everyone just graduate to the next grade? If we go without school for a while? I mean, I'm sure they would probably hey, here's, some extra work or whatever for the rest of the year. But I would imagine that that's probably the natural progression. You were in 10th grade, now you're automatically in 11th grade because we had to kind of shut it down. We don't really have a reliable way of like testing you, and your parents are going to be like, yeah, he's good to go, and you're just going to, and I don't see any harm in that. I don't think it really matters much, but it'd be interesting to kind of see, what would they do? They're not going to put kids through summer school. They're not going to make you, restart 10th grade next year or whatever. There's just no way. They can't even really, from a logistics standpoint, they can't even really do that. And to do that to everyone's child, put their education on freeze by a year would be really weird. So I think they don't have a choice but just to advance it, even if it doesn't advance.
I'd imagine there'd be some sort of like, okay, you're in the 10th grade, you have to pass this test to get to the 11th grade.
Standardized test.
That thing there.
I know. We have too much backlash nowadays, though, for something like that. That sounds kind of logical. We have too much backlash nowadays for something like that to exist, because you're going to be like, Timmy can't take that test because he has trouble in math, and you're going to rely on math, Why is Timmy such a dick? His parents, too.
I was going to say, it's not so much Timmy, it's his parents.
He's kind of a dick, too, though, for being honest.
I give him the benefit of the doubt, but
There's a lot of online courses, like Harvard.
Hello now.
Oh, there we go.
That was weird. That happened simultaneously. What's up, Evan? How you doing, man?
Great. We're here. It's happening.
Oh, my God. Look at all these famous people you got behind you. That's amazing.
This is where I operate.
This is the studio. Hey, man, I just want to tell you that we really appreciate what you've been doing over the years, because you've created so many great videos. You created so much great content, and it's awesome to have that content and that knowledge kind of locked into one channel that you can conveniently go to. So thank you so much for that.
Cool, man. Thank you. Appreciate it.
How did all this kind of start? If you can kind of walk us back to the beginning, like what this curiosity for being better and then communicating that out to other people. Like, where did this start?
Yeah, are we rolling already? You guys recording all this?
We're rolling, son.
I love it, dude. This is fantastic. These guys don't mess around. This is going to be a fun one. I love it.
That's right.
So listen, I think your purpose comes from your pain. I think whatever you struggle the most with is the thing you then want to help other people through. And so I struggled a lot as an entrepreneur. My first business, I was making no money, was embarrassed, and I wasn't, working. That I was too afraid to ask my friends for help, and so I really isolated myself and felt worthless. I'm also a visual learner, and I'd rather see something than just hear it or read it. And Bill Gates, his story saved my company, and so as I turned my company around, sold it, became a venture capitalist, all that kind of stuff. I've now, what have I done? I learned from Bill Gates, and now for the past 20 years, I've just been teaching other people how to model success and apply it to their own life and business as well.
What was it you learned from Bill Gates specifically that helped?
So I had a software company. It was biotech software, early stage drug discovery, and we were not making any money. I'm making $300 a month. And I told my partner that I quit. And I woke up the next day. It's like, I can't quit. It was the worst day of my life. I'm going to regret it if I don't keep going. And I said, there's got to be somebody who's figured this out. Like, how do you sell software? Somebody's done this. I can't be this stupid. Like, somebody's got to figure this out. And I just thought of Bill Gates. Like, he was the only guy I could think of who was in software who had a big company.
Right.
And so I was like, how did Bill Gates get started? 0 to 1, not how he makes an extra $1 million now, right? Like, he makes $1 million every second doing nothing probably now, but like 0 to 1, how did he get going? And for him, it was partnerships. So Microsoft really blew up when they made their deal with IBM. So IBM had all the computers out, and Microsoft became the default software on all the IBMs. And that's the thing that blew them up. But Microsoft was already a $7 million company when they made the deal with IBM. Now, that's not huge, but it was 7 million more than what I had at the time. And so, like, how did they get to 7 million? So I went and researched their story deeper, and it was still through more partnerships. So finding other people to partner with. And so I said, okay, I don't know. I got nothing else to lose. I've already quit. I got to at least try this Hail Mary pass. I'm going to try doing some partnerships. And I landed my first partnership deal that paid me $13,500, which may not sound like a ton of money, but I'm making $300 a month. There's no momentum. I thought I was rich. And more importantly, it gave me a model I could do again and again and again. So I landed more partnerships and closed deals with companies around the world. And that's what kind of helped blow up my company. And ever since then, whenever I don't know what to do, I said, somebody's figured this out. I don't have to be the genius, model success, and apply it. And what I've tried to teach other people how to do as well through my content.
How did that evolve into kind of like exactly what you're doing now with your content? Like from owning that business to now, you said you've been doing this type of thing as taking, grabbing content from famous people and putting it out there. What spurred that? Like, how did you get into doing all of this?
So the early days of my YouTube, so I've been on YouTube for almost 11 years now. The first video is me telling the story of Walt Disney. And my early videos were telling the stories of famous people who I couldn't get. I mean, there's no clips, very few clips of Disney. There's a couple, but I was telling their story and how they had success. My first top 10 mashup video was on Kanye West. And he's on my wall, back there in the corner. Because my friend for over a decade, Mark Drager, made this blog post about Kanye and Taylor Swift but it's like years after that whole thing happened, right? Mm-hmm. He's like, can we move on? I mean, Kanye does Kanye things, but it bothered me that people didn't want to learn from Kanye.
Yeah.
Like, Kanye's a genius.
I agree.
You can learn a ton from him, but it's overshadowed by the antics that he does, and people are always trying to get him in moments. And he often rises to the bait and takes it, and it becomes this viral clip. It's like, dude won more awards than anybody at his age. He went from being a beats producer to a rapper to an entrepreneur. You guys know John Legend?
Yeah.
Right? Like, legendary singer, but his name isn't John Legend. His name is John Stevens.
Oh.
And John Stevens and Kanye are friends, which already seems weird. Like, John Legend seems like the nicest human of all time. Right? So humble and nice. And then Kanye, like, how are these guys friends? So first off, they're friends. Second, they're sitting in a bar in Chicago when John Stevens is getting his start. And John Stevens says to Kanye, I feel like I'm an old soul. Like, I don't belong in this era. My voice is more like Sinatra era. I belong to a different generation. And Kanye says, dude, you should call yourself the legend. And John Stevens says, I can't call myself the legend. Like, what if it doesn't work out? I'm just getting started. and he convinced John Stevens to call himself John Legend. Right? So now, you may hate Kanye. You may think he's the biggest XYZ of all time. Awesome. But are you as good a friend to your friends like Kanye is to John Legend? Right? So I made the first top 10 video basically just as a in your face to my friend Mark Drager. Say, Mark, go watch his video and learn from Kanye West. And it was just this one-off thing. But then people loved it and said, hey, can you do Dame Dash? Hey, can you do Jay-Z? Hey, can you do Oprah? Hey, can you do... It was like, okay, yeah, cool. Why not? I'd love to learn from these people as well. So it turned from me just telling their stories to then also trying to grab clips. And every one that we make is meant to be a tribute, right? If I made a top 10 stupidest moments of Kanye, that'd be easy. And would probably blow up. Like, people would much rather listen to negativity and poking fun at people than actually try to get inspired and do something positive. But it's not, I mean, it make me feel gross. It's not what I want to create. So he's like, this is what I've learned from Kanye. And I hope that you can learn, if there's 10 things here, maybe 1 or 2 things you can apply to your life and get better. And so we try to condense, hours and hours and hours into 15 minutes of knowledge and motivation and inspiration to help you go off and build a better life.
How do you build all this up without driving yourself crazy, because personal development is fun, but you can also make yourself a little bit nutty with it. So how have you been able to execute on this, put these videos together, and then maybe still have time for other things and to be like a rational person and not fall too deep into like everything's got to be focused in on being a better person 24/7?
So I think balance is a very personal question. You got to figure out what your version of balance looks like for you, right? I look at you guys and like, you got your stacked guns and like, that's not me, right? There it is, right? Like, you value that a lot more than I do because I don't look like that, right? I could, but it's going to take me a lot of time in the gym to get there, right? And so I look at, Dwayne Johnson, for example, and in his, he needs to work out like 4 hours a day. So when he's on set, he wakes up 5 hours early so that he can work out, and 2 times cardio and 2 times weights. And then he showers and goes to his set. I think that's crazy. But I don't look like Dwayne Johnson, right? I mean, you get what you want. So I think you should be crazy. I think you should be crazy all in on your life and what that means to you. And if I stepped into your life, it should be torture for me.
Right?
Like the time that you spend in the gym, I'm going to die. Like this is the worst thing I hate my life if I stepped into your life, right? And it should be the same for me. Like if you're jumping into my life and you're doing the work I'm doing, it should be torture for you. But it's not torture for me because I love it, right? I'm doing my thing. So we judge ourselves on balance and what that looks like against other people's definitions. Where it's like, hey, if you're happy, if you love going to the gym and you love sleeping 10 hours a day and you love making podcasts and you love like whatever your version of balance is, awesome. Go live it.
You know, I think that's one of the reasons why I like the top 10 videos that you put out a lot, because like you'll put out a top 10 on Oprah, on Dwayne Johnson, on Kobe or whatever, right? And you'll watch those videos. But the great thing is that you'll like, I think there was a time when I was trying to figure out better ways to be a better communicator, and I saw your top 10 on Oprah, and then there's a lot of things on interviewing and communication in there, and I took a few things from that. I was like, oh, that's really, really dope. Just like you said that you learned from Bill Gates, you took some things that he had and you inserted into your life, and I think that's super powerful because, I mean, there might not be, you know, I might look at the things that you do and I might not do everything that you do because I'm just like, I can't manage that, but there might be a few things that can actually change the way I operate and change my life.
Yeah. And I mean, that's the goal, I think, with my channel, but also in personal development, because your goal isn't to be the next Oprah. It's to be the best you. Right. And so like, this is my office here. And I got on my right, Steve Jobs. And on my left, I got a picture of me when I'm 8 or 9 years old and my parents above me. And I like this contrast because I don't want to be a father like Steve Jobs. He wasn't that great a father, right? I want to be a father like my father was. But I don't want to be a visionary like my father because he's not a visionary, but Steve Jobs is, right? And so like you pull different things. You might hate Steve Jobs for all these things or hate Ye, right? But like you can learn from him and throw away the 98% of the stuff that doesn't serve you and just hang on to the 2 and use that to be better.
Has it ever been unhealthy for you to model yourself after somebody, or have you felt like you've been executing that pretty well?
I don't think I would say unhealthy. I would say it doesn't quite fit. So when you're modeling somebody, I feel like you're trying on their hat. And the hat doesn't quite fit. It serves the purpose of having a hat and protect you from the sun or whatever, and you'll get some momentum, but it's not quite you. And so you've got to make tweaks and adjustments, right? And so that's why I like the exposure to more people. So, you know, like I love young Les Brown as an example. Young Les Brown is my hero. As a speaker, he's the best for me. I can't be young Les Brown. Like the way that he speaks and delivers and the stories that he tells isn't me, but I could take little pieces of it. But I think the first step is to emulate. Like if you guys are launching this show, episode 1, great. You're going to look at Joe Rogan and you're going to look at Tim Ferriss. You're going to look at whatever other interviewers, Oprah, Larry King, and you're going to take their questions. You say, ooh, Oprah asked that question. I love that. We're going to ask that question. But along the way, you're going to figure out, you know what? Like that question doesn't quite work. And we want to inject this one in. Like you find your style, but they get you a massive head start, right? Like they take you 80% of the way, and then you just got to tweak that last 20% to make it your own.
I don't know if I've ever seen anything like this on your channel before, and maybe you have described it in some fashion, but what's the best way to consume your products? What's the best way to like learn how to like actually utilize your products? I'm sure you probably have a lot of analysis paralysis type people that learn a lot from you and they get this great understanding, but then unfortunately they're still kind of nervous or scared to really implement some of what you're saying. So have you ever talked about that? Like how do you take some of the stuff that you present and then put it into action? So
I like how that question transitioned because you said, how do you consume? But now it moved towards creation. So I see it as a spectrum. Step 1 is most people what are they consuming? They're consuming entertainment. They're consuming Netflix and sports, and that's great. But when you can shift the amount of consumption from entertainment to education is step 1, right? So I'm going to now spend less time just on entertainment content. Doesn't mean stop watching your favorite sports teams or whatever, but you're shifting your consumption from entertainment to education. But a problem a lot of people make is consuming educational content is not enough, right? Like you guys don't look like you do because you watched a video about how to do a bench press, right? Like you got to get in and actually do the bench press. You got to actually do the curls. You got to actually do the work. You can't read about doing the curls and feel like that's enough. But what I love doing is I think it's the consistency that matters. I think people will watch something or they'll listen to your show or watch this video. They might get inspired in the moment and do something, but it's not consistent enough. But what I do know is that if you got, how many episodes do you guys have of your show?
About 400 or so.
Like 345.
345. Yeah.
If somebody started right now and consumed one of your episodes for the next 400 days or 365, they'll be a different person by the end of 365. You can't help it because these guys are going to pull you up. You're going to learn. You're going to push more. You may not notice it on a day-to-day basis, but you'll notice it looking 3 months back or 6 months back, or when you're just like going to the gym. When you lift, you're not feeling anything from day to day, but you look back on the gains in the past 3 months, like, man, look at how much I've grown, right? It's the same thing with personal growth. So what I'm trying to do is get as many different voices in people's heads on a daily basis, so that if you're around Steve Jobs every day and Oprah every day and Ye every day and whoever every day, it's always a positive message for me, right? It's never deflating or negative or making fun of people. It's always something inspirational that I've personally learned from. You can't help but grow. You can't help but start to want a better life, to start to take action towards it if you've got all these successful people in your ear every day.
What about patience? You know, you're saying that you want people to try on different hats. And
wait, who's this guy? This is great.
Sorry, dude. Coming in from the side.
Yeah. I've been the one that's been in communications with you and your team. So what's up, dude? Thanks for hanging out with us today. Sorry for the abrupt change in cameras and stuff.
I love it.
So anyway, so how much patience do you have people, or do you want people to have? Because if you're saying, try on a couple different hats and you try one on and it doesn't really fit, how much of that is like, oh well shit, I want to be like Mark Bell, but his hats really doesn't really fit me because I can't wake up at 4, I can't work out every day, I can't work on my own business. It's almost like I'd be making excuses at that point why I don't want to work hard, but really it's just maybe I'm just not quite there yet, right?
I think people need to flip patience and impatience. I think we're patient about the wrong things and impatient about the wrong things. So most people are very patient with themselves, but impatient with the results. I want to get big. I want to work out. I want to look buff like that. I want to have a successful podcast. I want to, right? You want the results, but then you let yourself off the hook all the time. Like, I'll start tomorrow. I
start on Monday.
Maybe. Right. So you're patient with, I want you to flip it. I want you to have insane impatience with yourself. Like, today matters. Like, today I'm going to lift as much as I can. Like, today I'm going to reach out to as many guests as possible. Today I'm going to make myself proud of the effort, but then having patience with the results. So I think both are important. I just think most people have it flipped.
That's huge.
Let me ask this, because I've been paying attention to your channel for a while, and recently I started seeing some of the young, pulling up video footage and quotes and stuff from the younger version of all these individuals. What spurred you to want to get into that realm? Because when you think, when some people think about it, they're like, they see the end product and they're like, I want to learn from the end product. So what's with the, focus on the younger version of a lot of these notable individuals?
Yeah. So, I appreciate that. So I started a new channel called Starting from the Bottom, and we're trying to find the earliest interview clip of all the people that you know and love and like. So we, Elon Musk and Jeff Bezos, and we just did Jay-Z and Grant Cardone and all these guys. And I'm trying to find the earliest, youngest version of them and sharing it, because I think it's inspirational. I get inspired when I see Jeff Bezos do his first interview and how awkward he is and how nervous he is and how much it sucked. It gives me hope. It's like, man, if he went from that to being the richest human on earth, there's hope. This is amazing, right? The Jay-Z one that we just put up recently, he was talking about just creating Rockefeller, betting on himself, stop letting the record labels dictate the money and who gets paid. But he had no distribution yet. He hadn't figured out how he was going to do it. But you get to see him in dream mode and then actually doing it. His mindset when he was pitching it and nobody believed in him, right? Now Jay-Z doesn't do that many interviews, and he's so cool, calm, collected, and like looking back on the glory days is great, but like you get to see him in the prime when nobody believed in him and he was taking that bet on himself. I don't know. I love that stuff.
You could see it.
I love being able to see how people got started.
You can see it 100% in his like body language, even that he's kind of tense, like he's like in a fight, like he's got to explain himself the entire time, and he's like, I'm going to prove myself to the world, like F all these people, I'm going to take all this on. You can see that in the way that he talks, even though he was polite and he was kind. He didn't seem like he had a problem, but it did seem like he had a massive chip on his shoulder and he had something to prove. And it was that's awesome. And I think that that's great, because if you ask somebody to reflect on their success, they're going to give you a much different story, because it's impossible to really give you the truth.
Yeah, it's why I still have all my videos up on my channel. So you can go back. I got 6,000 videos on my main channel.
Whew,
and you can see like April 2009,
that's awesome.
My first video uploaded. I'm sitting down. I'm in a suit. I'm sweating. I'm nervous. I had way more hair, all this stuff. And it's embarrassing to go, like if I go back and watch, like, oh my gosh, it's so bad. And you can see me trying to memorize the lines. But I keep it up there to show the journey, right? Like to see where I got started, because it's often easy for people to look at you guys and say, man, look at these, they're crushing it. They know what they're doing, but you're also 400 episodes in.
Yeah.
Like go back in episode 1. You didn't know what you were doing. So I like showing the early stages, because I think it gives people inspiration and hope to say, like, if that's where they started and here's where they're at, I can do it too.
You look like you're in good shape. I've been following you for a long time, and it looks like you're in better shape now than you've ever been. Can you contribute that to the Doritos that are in the background over there?
Oh, you're going to love this. So I have a strategy called Damn the Doritos. So, well, we'll see. We'll see what you guys think of this. So I think when people are on a diet, the common advice is get rid of the junk food from your house. Clear out your house, clear out your fridge, clear out your cabinet of all the junk food, right? I think that's you telling yourself that you suck. You're telling yourself, I'm not capable of being around junk food. I suck. And so what ends up happening is you go to an office party, you go on vacation, you go on a cruise or whatever. And what are you doing? You're stuffing your face, because you've taught yourself that unless you're in your perfect environment, nothing happens. And so I love Doritos. My mouth is watering just like looking at these.
I'm getting excited just seeing the bag through the camera.
This is the giant size Doritos.
Oh, man.
That bag's bigger than your whole body.
It's like the Costco half human size bag of Doritos. But that's my weakness. My mouth is watering so much right now because I just want to eat that bag. But I want to tell myself that I'm stronger than the Doritos.
Got it.
Because damn the Doritos.
I like that.
Damn the Doritos. So these things stay in my office all the time. And like if somebody's eating cookies or Doritos or whatever, I'll take their bag of Doritos, and the sweet chili spicy one, like the purple bag one, that's my real jam. Mm-hmm. I'll take it, take their bag, bring it up to my nose.
Oh my gosh.
Just like
and be careful, that causes an insulin response.
just enjoy. Can it really? I didn't know. I don't think so.
It absolutely can.
Does it really? Wow, I didn't know that. So, but I'll still do it. I'll put it in, and then I'll put the bag down and walk away. And then in my head, it's like, I am the greatest human on this planet.
You mastered it. You're not worried about it anymore.
Damn the Doritos, man. I think you have to teach yourself that you do difficult things.
Are you?
So we all. Yeah.
I was going to say, are you worried about the day that people find out that you did all this for selfish reasons just to advance yourself?
No.
I'm just messing with you.
Oh, okay. Well, in my advancement is everybody else's advancement.
Yeah, 100%. 100%.
So I think the greatest thing you can do is build your own confidence. I think we need more self-talk about I'm awesome, right? I think the problem is people feel like they suck. And that's a problem, right? And so you change the inner dialogue by doing difficult things, by saying damn the Doritos. And so I apply this to everything. Like people say, don't hit the snooze, so take the phone and put it out into the kitchen. Right? And like my contemporaries, Mel Robbins and other people are saying like, put the phone in the kitchen. My weird duck brain says, that's you telling yourself that you suck. Like if I even thought about that, I need to have the phone right next to me and I just get up just because.
You have the self-control to do it that way.
You build the self-control.
Right.
Like, it would bother me so much that the Doritos bag is stronger than me. It would bother me so much that I'd have to go off and do it. And you start in micro steps, right? Like, you don't just go off and do the most difficult thing, maybe if you're capable, but you start in these micro steps and it starts to build. Just like when you go to the gym, you're not lifting 400 pounds right away. You start with a 5-pound dumbbell.
You doing anything in particular with exercise?
Guys, I really want to get back into it. I broke my neck.
Jesus.
In 2 spots on my tour last year and had a concussion. And
this guy broke his neck for you people, you know? Damn. Come on.
And I stayed on tour. Like, I was on tour in Colorado. Everybody says go home. Like, I'm not going home. I'm gonna do my tour with a concussion and a broken neck.
Oh my God.
And I sat there at the front for 4 hours with pillows and ice packs on me, doing Q&A and doing my workshops. Shit. But that's the greatest part of the whole tour, right? Like, how often do you actually get pushed to your max?
Yeah.
Very rarely, right? Mm-hmm. So even if I failed and sucked, like, even knowing that this was the greatest day on my tour was when my wife pulled me off in Kansas City, because it was 3 days after my concussion. And I still went and did it. I refunded everybody the money for the workshop and said, hey, I'm going to be here anyway, guys. Like, let's come hang out and ask me questions. And she pulled me after an hour and a half because I was like blanking out and going to pass out. That's the greatest moment of my life. Like, that's the physical max. I had nothing left in the tank and I got pulled off a stage. I'm so pumped for that.
What's the best 2 or 3 things that you've learned, you know, in studying all these giants over the years?
It's the belief that you're capable of great things. The belief that you are the best in the world at something. Like, you are Michael Jordan at something. What is that thing? And it's probably not what your parents did or what you went to school for or what's happening right now with the people around you. But the belief, like, a lot of the people who I profiled and have won had no business winning. Like, you guys have no business making a podcast and making this show happening. Like, the yous from 10 years ago, 5 years ago, you're not doing this, right? You have no business being here, and yet you're here, right? And so it's just the belief that it's possible that separates. There's so many people with so much talent that never go anywhere because they don't believe in themselves. I think it's the world's biggest problem, and that's what I'm trying to solve every day with everything I make.
I love it, man. Where can people find out more about you, and where can they get a hold of some of your books and stuff like that?
Books, Amazon, easiest spot. Just look up Evan Carmichael. The new one's called Built to Serve. Otherwise, I'm Evan Carmichael on every social media platform. You know, I'm probably hanging out where you're hanging out.
Awesome, man. Thank you so much. That was incredible. And, you know, again, we really appreciate it. You know, if people haven't seen your channel before, they really need to go and check it out. They've been kind of living under a rock, in my opinion. But, you know, whenever I'm looking to, you know, advance myself and look stuff up, I end up using your channel all the time. You know, I would search for stuff. I used to Google search stuff, and that wouldn't work so great. Then I'd shift over to YouTube, and then you became more popular on YouTube, and that was super helpful because, like, oh, Evan's got a top 5 on this guy. He's got a top 10 on that guy. Oh, let me check this out. And it's just been a huge wealth of knowledge, so I really appreciate what you've been doing.
Cool, guys. I love the vibe. I love the energy. Listen, episode 1000, let's do it again.
Yeah. Sounds right. Good. Yeah.
All right, man. Have a great rest of your day, and have fun with those Doritos.
Much love, guys. Thank you.
Thank you.
Cheers.
Whose stomach was that at the very end?
Might have been mine.
That was me.
That was you?
Yeah.
Maybe it's ours growling at each other.
Well, nope.
No. Okay, not now.
You know, Howard Stern every once in a while, like when his show would get too serious, he's like, let me get back to the basics, and he would just fart into the microphone. he would just let him go. So we're going to have to save some of those for the show too. Mm-hmm. But yeah, no, it was awesome having Evan on here. He's amazing, and it shouldn't have been any surprise, but he was insanely intelligent. I mean, as we started talking, I was like, whoa, like this guy has thought. He's not just putting together these videos, you know, he's thinking about a lot of this stuff, and it's very clear that a lot of the stuff's sinking in.
Yeah, for somebody who claims that he doesn't like to speak to people like the way he just did, dude, his like
he was great.
What's it called?
Enthusiasm.
That too, but like his cadence I'm just like, holy shit, dude, like just keep going. You know, like I just want to like keep going. This is amazing audio. And it just like hits perfect every time. People who aren't into public speaking or even into like rapping and stuff won't understand like what I'm talking about. But it's like, I'm working on it too. And when it's like game recognized game, like I can see that like, oh shit, that's why people pay attention to him. Like, or one of the reasons why people pay attention to him. And I'll just blown away. It's like, holy shit, this is great.
Well, if you think about doing over 6,000 videos and he speaks at some point in all of them, like he's had a lot of experience behind the camera, a lot of reps. Let's just put it that way. An insane amount of reps. It's amazing. I loved the impatience versus patience point that he answered in terms of your question.
That was huge.
That was a great way to look at it. I've never heard anybody say it that way.
Yeah. And Mark has said stuff like similar, just in different verbiage, but that was so plain, simple, easy to follow for anybody.
Yeah.
You know, like don't wait till Monday, right? Just go right now.
Be patient with your results.
Yes.
Be impatient with yourself. Be impatient in terms of taking action. So start that shit now. But as the ball's rolling, just give that shit time.
I like what he said about how hard it would be to step into somebody else's life. And I think that's really important because you know, let's just say, someone's like an electrician, right? And they have a job where they got to like check wires and shit like that, right? And let's just say that you stepped into that world and you did that. Like, if you just did it for one day, it probably wouldn't be that big of a deal. But if you did it for like 6 weeks, you know, my cousin, he used to wake up at like 3 a.m, be on the road by 4. Driving to New York City every single day. And then he managed like JFK, which is just absolutely enormous. And I mean, could you imagine like, so again, like doing that and then learning, someone says, hey, this wire, you know, has this many volts and we got to check these lights. And it's like, that wouldn't be that bad. You would learn it as you go. You would consume some of the information, but imagine how hard that would be to be doing that every day, to try to figure out like where your lunch is going to come from, when you're going to eat, when you're going to get home, because trying to commute back home is hard because you're fighting traffic. And you can just see how difficult it is. That might be a job that sounds fairly simple, but now it all of a sudden becomes very hard because that's not your life. That's not your interest. You would be exhausted. Like I would just like, I would be miserable trying to do that. Or even, how about a job that even might sound even easier? Like what about being like a postal worker? You just deliver the mail. It's like, hey, you look at the thing and then it's like, oh, that's the address. Okay, I get out of my truck and I deliver the mail. It sounds simple, but imagine doing that for like a week. None of us would last. I mean, people's mail would be all fucked up. You know, like we would be hurting. So I thought that was amazing. It's going to be crazy to step into anybody's life.
I think the big thing when I think about that is the ability to adapt, that we all have that ability to get better and adapt at something. Because Smokey, like yesterday, he was asking me how many times I trained jiu-jitsu a week. And I was like, oh, like 6 to 8. He's like, oh, shit. But then I was like, well, when I first started, I remembered I was only training twice a week. And that in itself was difficult at the time. So now people are asking me, how do you do that so much? Because like I was slowly able to build myself up to training that much. So if you step into try and do what somebody is doing right now and they talk about it and you try to do that exact thing, it's going to be hell. You know, just actually, it's exactly like he said, like him trying to work out as much of us, it's going to be hell. But if he were to start working out slowly and slowly build up to the training frequency that we might have, it would be something he'd be able to do. I fully believe he'd be able to train as much as we do if he built up to it.
Think about, you know, when we talk about fasting, like we love fasting, we like talking about it, but we also urge people, like if you haven't really tried it much, it's not a bad idea to try it for a day, try like a 16-hour fast rate just to see if you can do it as like a challenge. But for you to think that you're going to do 20-hour fasts consistently out of nowhere is probably not a great idea, especially if you're not used to dieting, if you're not used to the foods. You're going to find yourself 3 weeks down the road probably weighing 20 pounds more than you ever did before because you were in such restriction. You know, and I love what he talked about with the foods being around. Yeah, that kind of stuff doesn't bug me. It doesn't bother me when I see other people like eating stuff.
Yeah.
I mean, occasionally you're hungry and you catch a smell of a certain food and you're like, like that would be kind of nice to dive into that. But, you know, it's interesting people's different takes on things. I can have whatever food I want in my house. It doesn't bother me. My kids have stuff that's a little bit different. My wife has stuff that's a little bit different, and it doesn't really I see cereal and stuff like that in there, but I'm so over it that it doesn't matter. Now, if we had stuff that really interests me, that might be a little bit more dangerous. Like if we had like peanut butter cups in the house or something, like there's certain things that I might fold on if I am broken down, from a couple of days of like, long hours in the gym, a lot of hard workouts, kind of a culmination of things. And then there's like one of two things could happen. You have, quote unquote, a bad day, and or you have an amazing day. And you're like, today was amazing. I'm going to have fucking peanut butter cup. Yeah. Or you're like, you know what? Today really kind of sucked. I'm going to have a glass of wine, and those peanut butter cups are pretty good, right? It's like either way, and it's try not to let those emotions carry you. But I love what he said about, don't really worry too much about the environment that you're in. It shouldn't have to be perfect for you to do the best job that you can.
I was actually curious about this when you were mentioning all of that. Do you remember a few years ago, like when you were having all these other foods in the house, would you have had that same control, even if it wasn't peanut butter cups? Like if it was different types of food, would you still be able to just hold yourself back from it?
I was usually pretty good with it.
Oh, okay.
Yeah,
okay.
I was usually pretty good with it because, you just have to keep in mind, like my story is so different just because I started lifting so young and I understood the protein side of things from a real early age. So everything was always like protein first. I was always like, where am I going to get my protein? Even sometimes when I would have like a cheat day, like I used to have like a cheat weekend, which is funny to think about now because I would get so fat off of that nowadays. But I'd have like a cheat weekend, and even when I would do that, it was always protein first. Like I would even I might like go somewhere and get pizza, but even before I drove there, I would have like a protein shake.
Gotcha.
And I don't know, maybe that helped because maybe it helped me eat less or something. But I was always very protein minded. So even when the kids had snacks, I'm not really. Somewhere along the lines, I learned that snacking is it's just not intelligent. Like it's just not. It's not very smart, and you're not going to really see me with like a handful of like goldfish or something, like little snack foods that you might see kids with. I mean, that would just be like, I can't even think of the last time. I mean, I would say like about maybe like 5 years ago, I was with Jesse Burdick and my wife and I went on a vacation somewhere. We were in some beach city. I can't remember where it was, like Santa Cruz or something like that. Jesse came up and we spent some time together. And, I was still in the middle of powerlifting or whatever. And we had some of these like pretzels, those thin pretzel things that are perfect for like dipping. And he and I went through like a whole thing of those and like 2 tubs of Kerrygold butter.
I knew it was going to turn into this.
Because we just kept dipping it. We just kept dipping it into butter. And it was like the best tasting thing ever. But literally, that's the last time I can remember eating something like that.
Yeah. Was it like the Gardetto like chip, like pretzel things? Like they're like real dark brown.
I don't know what they're called, but they're really thin. They're like a chip,
super crunchy, right?
But yeah, it's like a chip, but it's a pretzel.
Those are good.
What are those called? They come in a bunch of different flavors. They have like a everything one, and they have. Yeah, we were like, dude, like we just ate 2 things.
Wait, are they they're not round, right?
These things?
No, those are delicious.
Those are really
we should
good.
Go buy some of those.
There is this pretzel.
How about the mustard ones? Those are good.
Oh, mustard
golden
pretzels
mustard
are so good.
Yeah. There's this pretzel snack that's like round, and there's a bunch of different flavors, and they have seasonings and stuff. And I used to fucking love those.
Maybe now I'm starting to think that snacking is a much smarter idea than I originally thought.
Did you ever have a bagel dog?
I don't think so.
Oh, so good.
A bagel weenie?
Can you type that in?
Yeah,
I don't know what a bagel
it's
dog
incredible.
Is. What's going to come up?
Oh, I know, right?
I do have to commend you on your self-control at Hyde Park when we were all partaking in the pretzel bread, right, Andrew?
Oh, yeah.
That pretzel bread.
I know, and I got a soft spot for pretzels. I love pretzels.
That thing right
there.
So
hey, now.
It's a
it looks kind of lewd.
I don't know if I'm allowed to do that. I'm married.
Yeah. So basically it's a hot dog, but it's wrapped in a bagel bun. It is insane.
That's like it's called a pig in a blanket, right?
I think so, yeah. But it just, I don't know.
It's a larger version.
I think so. It's so good.
It's an uncircumcised hot dog.
Yeah.
There's
got a turtleneck.
There's a hot dog place in Davis.
Anteater of a hot dog.
Yeah. Anteater snout. There's a hot dog place in Davis called the Hot Dogger, and it's been there for a long time. And when Charlie was working here, we went there and we got like a hot dog or whatever. And like I ordered like one or two, but he ordered like 4 of them. I don't know if
Zamora?
Of course.
Yeah. And I don't know if you've ever seen this guy eat.
Oh, yeah.
But man, he just devours food like he's like in a contest or something.
Mm-hmm.
He gets it like spicy. He gets chili on there. He's got all this cheese. And I was like, dude, I'm like, you are going to shit yourself. Like something horrible. You can't. No one gets a free pass to eat that kind of food. Like you're going to feel so sick. And he's always talking about his acid reflux, you know? And I'm like, dude, like this is going to kill your stomach, you know? He wolfs it down. He's like, oh my God. He's like, he's like sweating. And it's not even like the summertime. He's like sweating. He's trying to like suck down soda and stuff. And it's like only making it worse. He was just a mess. He ended up throwing up. He ended up puking.
And then blaming it on probably mind.
Oh, my acid reflux.
But when we first moved to this location, which is very close to IKEA, jokingly one day I'm like, oh, dude, we should go to IKEA for lunch one day. And then one day he's like, so you ready to go? I'm like, all right, let's do this. And same thing. IKEA hot dogs are like $0.25. I don't know what they cost, right? We got way too many of them.
Oh, wow.
We got those, pizza, everything there. And
just crushed yourself.
Dude, we both of us the next day were like, dude, like I don't feel good at all. Like, we just got so sick from it. But it was fun because it was like, you know, like 10 pounds worth of food for like $2.
Yeah. You know, go ahead.
Go for it.
I really like that the Doritos thing.
That's tough, but yeah.
I like it. I think, okay, maybe it's not something that everyone should implement right now. Maybe not the best idea to take for me, it would probably be getting like a box of double stuffed Oreos because I really like Oreos, right? And just putting it by me. That would be it. But I don't know if I've trusted myself. I think I could hold off, but I like the idea of like just seeing it there and being like, fuck you, I'm not going to eat you. Peace out.
It's like training.
It shows you that, people don't know what's uncomfortable for them, you know, like we talk about like, oh, you got to be a little uncomfortable. And I don't always agree with that principle 100% and like working your weak points and stuff. I'm not a huge fan of like too much of that. Cause I think that leaning on your strengths, I see a lot of very successful people just kind of leaning into their strengths. And of course, you know, if you have issues with communication or you have some of these are things you pick up over the years and you get better at those things and you practice some of it. But I think that in general, we just don't even know what's uncomfortable for us. So for me to say, hey man, you know, you got to be uncomfortable to be comfortable, or what am I referencing? Like, am I referencing doing an extra set in the gym or an extra rep? It's like, well, that's what you do all the time. So that shouldn't be that hard. Now, if I was referencing it to be the opposite of something that I do, like go get a library card and spend time researching and reading stuff in the library, well, then that would be, you know, an example of, you know, trying to be really uncomfortable. But in this situation, I think people are thinking that they're like hardcore or disciplined with their diet, but this requires a whole other discipline because now you're like kind of intentionally trying to mess with yourself. I wonder what like the science would say on something like that, like in terms of psychology. Let's say that you took it a step further and just always had like M&Ms out. You know, if you normally don't eat that way, I guess it probably wouldn't bother you. You had a cookie jar. You got some M&Ms out all the time. You know, like if we had them here in the office, we know that they would just be eaten all the time. We've done that with fruit. We'll buy fruit and it just gets eaten. Meanwhile, people aren't like stopping on their way to work to grab fruit. But if it happens to be here, they go for it. They've even seen like with water, you know, they're just trying to get people to drink more water. If they could have free water, but if it's like off in the corner, people aren't going to tend to drink it that often. But if they want people to hydrate a little bit better, they'll just put it out. You know, they'll put it out in front of them. Yeah. You know, you kind of see, I guess, out of sight, out of mind. You know, the grocery store uses a lot of these tricks. The outside of the grocery store is supposed to be kind of a safe place. But when you go to check out, that's where like the candy and some of those things are. And they're like just staring you down, you know, right as you're about to leave. So I don't know, I find it all very interesting. You know, walking by that case at Starbucks and walking by the case, you know, when you're at Phil's Coffee in these places and, you know, you see these donuts and bagels and you see all this stuff. Maybe this is a faster way to condition yourself to not worry about that stuff. I don't know. It's interesting.
I think it would end up having that effect. I think like especially if it's next to you, and you're every single day you're looking at it and making the decision not to, and continuously looking at it and making the decision not to. I feel like for some people who have that problem, if that's actually a problem for you, I think it would actually help them out a lot in the long run. I don't see it like for someone like you, I don't think it'd make that much of a difference because you already said like you have that stuff in your house, you don't really reach for it anymore.
I wonder if you literally like made it an obstacle. Like say you put something really, really good, like let's say that you had like a pie or something or a cake, and you have it in the fridge, and behind your cake, you have got to move your cake out of the way. You got to move cookies out of the way, and you have to reach in the back and grab the steak and like cook it. Like, I wonder if that would make you a savage faster because it's like you went out of your way. You know, I don't know. It's all very fascinating to me. Maybe it would.
Cool. Yeah.
Maybe you'd turn into a black belt in dieting.
I think I'm actually going to give that a shot, honestly. I'm going to go to the store and buy a box of Oreos. I'm going to keep it.
We need like a psychologist? Is that what we're something like that? Need
psychologist, psychiatrist.
Psychiatrist, yeah. Something.
Something with the psi.
Mm-hmm. We need somebody in here. I love the John Legend story, too. That was really cool with Kanye.
Yeah. Yeah. And then again, like
Kanye doing Kanye stuff.
Yeah. the looking at the young individuals. I don't know if we were talking about this on air or not, but it is really cool for like someone my age or whatever, someone in their 20s. Like you'll see what a lot of these people are talking about now, what a lot of them are doing now, but then you get to also see how they were when they were your age, the way they were looking at certain situations, the way they were looking at their goals and their dreams at your age. And it can be somewhat very motivational because you wouldn't expect that sometimes.
You guys know who the best example of this is?
Who?
Somebody that's been talking about themselves and talking about being amazing from day one that they have a lot of footage of. One of the most popular people we have in modern society today.
Would they have started filming around 2006?
No, it's not. It's not really. Well, oh yeah, maybe. Yeah, maybe.
You?
No.
So,
I was like,
that was my first thought. That's what I was like, ST06. But
no.
Who are we talking about?
Talking about Conor McGregor.
Wait, really?
Yeah, Conor McGregor has been talking, about being UFC champion, about being the greatest anyone's ever seen. He's been talking about that from like day one. And he's one of those few guys that, I guess my point here is he's one of the few guys where you've seen the old stuff of him almost right away. Yeah. Like I've seen that stuff a lot. And with like Jay-Z and some of the people that Evan has picked out to showcase, you haven't seen a lot of that stuff. So I think it's great that he's kind of popping a lot of this stuff up. But yeah, I would say that when I kind of think of this scenario of listening to people when they're young and listening to these interviews, I heard so much from Conor McGregor. The cool thing is Conor McGregor never changed. Mm-hmm. He's always been the same. If you can find some of his footage, he says like, I'm going to be the best. Like everyone else will have to adjust to that. I'm coming through and this is what I'm doing. Like, I believe in myself. This is my goal. And he was just like on fire from day one. And he still talks that way.
You also see that kind of thing from Ali too.
Oh yeah.
Like you'll see a lot
absolutely.
of OG.
He's the king of it.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And I think McGregor,
Ali was amazing at that shit.
Yeah. McGregor was like, it wasn't quite like he didn't quite catch a break or anything, like as far as like getting on like a big like organization like UFC. So he was almost like, well, shit, I guess this isn't for me. And then just got the phone ring and then he was like, well, this is for me and I'm going to be champ. So it's like, holy shit, like how quickly you can go from like, I don't know to nope, for sure. Like this is happening, which is fucking huge.
It is.
Yeah. The other thing we commented on that, he started this starting from the bottom series, and we were just kind of saying it's really hard for someone to give you the truth about what was it like when you first started. It might even be really hard for you to think back to when you started jiu-jitsu, which is not even that long ago.
Yeah.
Like right now, like, hey, was it that hard when you started jiu-jitsu? You might be like, it wasn't that bad. Mm-hmm. But when you were, you're in it week 2, I got a camera in your face, like, dude, how's it going? You're like, I'm kind of dead, like my neck is sore and they tweaked my arm, and, you might have a little bit of some negative reaction to some of the stuff that's been happening.
Actually, the odd thing about that is I think since it's more of a recent thing, it was 4 years, I do remember how much it sucked at the beginning. I mean, I got quite a bit of video too of me getting my ass beat, but I was talking to someone about this and I'm just like, Yeah, it really was really, really tough. Also mentally in the beginning, because it's like every day that I was going there, I was getting my ass beat like multiple times.
What about like the small things? Like I've heard people say like just your feet and the tops of your feet and your toes and your knees and like just even being on the mat. Like I'm sure like I would guess that you probably don't even think about that at all at this point.
Yeah. Like there was a point that both my Achilles tendons were sore for some reason because of the different types of movements that we were doing. There would be a lot of mat burn on like my toes, which I don't get anymore. But like, yeah, those are those little small things that happen here and there in the beginning that you're not used to.
You could barely even concentrate because you're like, I don't know how anybody else in class is doing this because this hurts my freaking toe so bad right now. Yeah. I'm not going to tell anybody, but I'm dying over here.
Yeah. Even the grip at the beginning.
Oh, the back of your like knuckles, right?
Oh, yeah. Like, yeah, I do have these weird
they're all
back of knuckle calluses, which I never really realized.
Yeah.
But like, like holding grips was difficult at a certain point, but that's another thing that you adapt to. It gets easy. You forget about it.
Good sign for everybody out there when you see someone with like no skin on the back of their knuckles, just probably be like, yeah, man, you can bump into me as hard as you want. I don't have any problem with it.
It's really funny though. The first time I noticed this was a few months ago. My girlfriend, she was looking at my hands and she was like, what the fuck is wrong with your hands? I was like, what do you mean? She's like, look at your knuckles. I was like, wait, let me see yours. And she didn't have them. And I was like, whoa, okay, this is actually kind of weird. So yeah, but like, it's jiu-jitsu is really interesting. I was talking to a dude about this the other day, and I think that it'd be really cool if, we as adults, because I think when you start something as a kid, you're naive to how long it takes to get good at something, and you're just forced to do it. Whether you start playing a sport, right? You just go to practice all the time because your mom tells you to go, or because you're like, oh, this is fun, right? And you're getting better naturally, right? But when you're an adult and you start something new, it's like you're so aware of how slow you're progressing. So I think it's like just a good idea to find something you think you'd enjoy, but will take a long time to progress at, because that's going to be a good way to train that. Like whether it's jujitsu or like I'm trying to learn how to play the guitar, and that's fucking hard, right? It's just like I think that's a really good thing to do as an adult because it'll train that part of you.
I think jujitsu, like wrestling, like martial arts, boxing. I think any of it is really, really crazy and weird in perspective towards like, I don't really know this person and I'm going to be like wrestling that. Like I'm going to be like engaged with them. Like when I was boxing, I boxed for long enough to where I got comfortable with someone like leaning on me and stuff, but that took like 2 years and I wasn't even that good. Like a kid, it must take a really long time in some of these sports to get adjusted to like, all right, this guy's like leaning on me, he's pushing on me. But just imagine like if you're a person that is really super shy, you don't really love a lot of one-on-one interaction. Even with Evan right there, I noticed he looked down to the side quite a bit. Like I can tell, like he has said before that he doesn't really like public speaking. I could see it. I could see it when he was doing that, even though he was awesome at it. But I would imagine that jiu-jitsu, when you grapple with people like that, you probably out-grapple yourself at some point and become more comfortable with stuff that otherwise was pretty weird to you.
Oh, yeah. That was one thing that I was like really concerned about when I first started. Like, is that dude's ass in that dude's head? Like his balls are in his face. I was like, am I going to?
Yeah, it's like the guy his sweat just went right from his mouth to mine. Like his nose or his arm or whatever, right? It just drips right in your mouth. It's like, all right, well, I guess here we go.
Yeah.
So you guys have the same concerns that I do.
Yeah.
Or had, I should say.
Yes. Yeah, definitely did.
Have you tried any of the RPR stuff before jiu-jitsu?
Yeah, I've been doing it every single time before I go.
Noticing a big difference? Or?
Not like my shoulder's been continuously getting better. Like it was getting better slowly since it happened, but ever since I started doing that and continuing my prehab and warm up stuff that I've been doing, it's been getting much, much, much better. Like it's ridiculous how good my shoulder feels right now.
I do it before all my workouts right now, and I'm really liking it. I actually did it the other day. I took the bar, and I think I just did the bar twice in a row. But you guys have seen me warm up before. I just move, and I move in a pain-free zone, and I might squat down like 4 or 5 inches at first because I'm just moving, and I just don't want any negative feedback at all. So I did that for set number 1. I did the RPR stuff, and on the next set, like I wasn't moving good in comparison to somebody that moves really well, but I was moving much better for myself. And I'm like, that just, was it the first set that, you know, kind of lubed me up for that next one? Because I did do a set. Could it be that my heart rate was increased a little bit? Could it be that my body temperature was up a little bit? I don't know, you know, really what it was, but it's my belief that it was the RPR. It made a huge difference. The pain in my knee was gone. I was able to squat fluidly, and I don't even really know what I'm doing with it yet. I'm not even following along with what they got. Just doing it out of kind of memory and just jamming on what I can, and it takes me 2 minutes, and just why the hell not?
Yeah, that's what I've been doing too. But like, I did it the other night before I went to bed. And my fiance was pissed because I don't have a hard time falling asleep, but like by time the light like went from switch to like actually being dark, I was already out. Like I passed out instantly. It was crazy.
Thanks for telling me that, dude. Because like I remember JL said, you know, do it before bed. But I've been forgetting to do it before bed. So thank you for reminding me about that, because I'm going to start doing that too.
It's the easiest place to do it too. Just sitting on the edge of the bed, just like, and good to go.
I can't wait for people to first off hear that episode with JL. I don't know if it's coming up next or if it's coming up in the next 2 episodes.
By the time people hear this, they will have already had access to that. So yeah,
groovy. But yeah, it's gonna be fucking great, man. And then when they see the video of him doing those tests, like,
oh, I have a piece that you could use for IG too, because I filmed a bunch of weird shit with him.
Yeah, man, I loved that episode.
Yeah, it was great.
You know, back to Evan for a second here. I love the other thing he was saying about like consumption and creation, and like, you know, consuming his content, and then going from, this is just great advice, period. Like going from entertainment to education. How much entertainment do you consume? You know, how much stuff is purely entertainment? And I'm not saying that you should get rid of that stuff, but maybe you're like 4 to 1. You know, you got 4 hours of entertainment and you got 1 hour of education, and maybe you can flip that a little bit, because maybe that could help you advance as a personal trainer, as a coach, as an entrepreneur. I mean, whatever it is, if you just flip that ratio, if you go 4 to 1 the other way, which might be hard, it might take time, but if you went 4 to 1 education to entertainment, you're going to be more successful a lot faster. You know, and just as he's saying, like, this stuff will flood your brain. You can't help but end up being a different person after you continually listen to these messages. I thought that was really cool.
It was. And then I think the next phase, that, like, obviously, education, what was it? Not just education, entertainment, but yeah, education, entertainment, but also the flipping that education into action. I think one thing a lot of people in their early 20s, including myself, had a tough time with was like, okay, cool, there's all this education, but when exactly do I start putting this into action and turning this into something that I want it to be? I noticed, like, I hear a lot of, like, I know a lot of people that are struggling right now because they're like, I want to do something, but I can't figure out exactly how to do it. But I like, it seems like you need that phase of that education, whether it's formal education or whether it's you educating yourself before you take that action on that thing. You can't necessarily start taking action if you haven't educated yourself on it. I think that it's a rough place because you're not sure exactly when you should start. But then you mentioned that paralysis by analysis thing. Like, you're now doing all this analyzing, but now you're not even taking that action. You got to figure out, like, when is that time that I can start taking a move on this thing that I've been wanting to do?
You start to really learn a lot about training, and you walk into the gym and you just end up being more confused than ever. You know, you start learning a lot about, like, you know, here's why bodybuilding works. Here's why powerlifting works. Here's this method for powerlifting, and here's this other method for powerlifting. Here's this method for bodybuilding. Here's this other method. You walk in the gym and you're like, I could start out with a bench press, or I could start out on a machine. Jay Cutler used to start out with leg extensions before he squatted, but Ed Cohn used to always just start off with squats. And then Steph Cohen says that you'd be better off, you know, I mean, if you start going down that path, and you're going to be really stuck, and it's going to be hard to have a good training system. And what you should know is that the people before you although they thought about it a lot and they educated themselves a lot, they really just went in there and they just did it, and they worked at it, and they just learned from their errors, and that's all you could ever do. So you go in, you're like Ed Cohn used to just squat. He didn't really spend too much time doing, because they didn't talk about prehab and rehab and all this stuff back in the day. You go to squat, you tweak your knee, you're like, all right, I should look into that. Like, why did I tweak my knee? It was only 225. I squat 315. You find Steph Cohen, you find these other great athletes that take a lot of precaution before they lift. You implement that. Oh, wow, my knee doesn't hurt as much anymore, right? It's just, it's all, kind of critical thinking, finding errors. We've talked before on the podcast about problem solving. That's really all that it's ever going to be. But if you're not doing, then you don't have a problem in the first place. So you need to do stuff. You kind of need to mess up a little bit, and then you can go back and make corrections. I've even heard people say, hey, look, man, don't worry about shit. Just like some people say, don't even show up at like Westside, or don't even show up at Super Training. Just fucking go to a gym, any gym, do 3 sets of 10 of everything, and just keep moving around, and then come back to us after you've been doing that for a year.
Yeah.
And that just means to try stuff and to learn about your body and learn how you feel.
You should look at everyone as guinea pigs. You yourself are your own human guinea pig, where you're going to try things out and experiment and see what works.
People are pigs. I agree.
and that's cool. But then, like, just like you said, with the Jay Cutler, Ed Cohn, etc., they did these things and they did them, and it worked for them. And you can take that and you can be like, okay, well, I can try this on this person. I can use this for myself or whatever. But everyone's pretty much experimenting on themselves. And then people like Steph Cohen and like all these other individuals or whatever, they just have a bigger sample size because they use it on their clients. And then you can utilize that too and take it also.
That's a good point.
So like, just yeah, take it for what it is.
I like the Steve Jobs thing. He's like, here I got Steve Jobs, and on this other side I got my dad, I want to be a dad like my dad was, but I don't want to be a visionary like my dad. I want to be able to be a free thinker like Steve Jobs, and I don't want to be the dad that Steve Jobs was. It doesn't appear that he was very good at it. Who knows what's true or whatever, but I really like that. It's like I admire, Bo Jackson. I admire these people, but I don't really know much about someone like Bo Jackson. I don't know much about Michael Jordan. All I know is that anytime he played, I wanted to watch because I was inspired by how he played. I think everybody, whether they were even a basketball fan or not, was inspired by the way that he was like, yep, I'll take the game on my shoulders and I got it. And if you just give me the ball, I'm going to figure this out. It could be 3 or 4 people on me. I'm not passing it to anybody. I'm going to hold on to it and I'm going to shoot it and we're going to win and we're going to get out of here. I think everybody admired the way he kind of shouldered that responsibility, and you can apply that and take that into anything else in life. But then maybe you just don't have any idea of his actions off the court. Maybe they were flawless. Maybe they were great. I don't know, but we don't know. And I think it's better. I think that's where it's better. You're better off having a family member that's a hero, or a family member that you can kind of look to and be like, you know what? I really dig that guy. I love the way that guy, that guy's just, he's consistent. He's just always there for his family. It could be your uncle. It could be a relative. It could be your own dad. It could be whoever. I feel that way. Like I loved Bo Jackson. I loved Mike Tyson. I loved Michael Jordan. But my dad is kind of really more my idol. My dad is like the person I've looked up to, even though he's only 5'2". I've looked up to my whole life for the responsibilities that he's taken on, and he's continued to take them on with a lot of consistency, much the way these athletes have taken on their own responsibilities. But it was only with athletics, and I don't know, Tyson. I don't really know, the people's behavior, outside the court or outside the ring. With Tyson, became very public and things like that,
Yeah, I really agree with that though, because like a lot of athletes, there's a lot of things that they may have done that was in the news or negative that you may have heard of. But and you see a lot of posts of people saying "fuck this guy" or "fuck whatever," blah 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 blah, right? And I can understand it, especially if something that they did was pretty horrible. But there's probably still a lot of stuff you could learn from that person.
Absolutely.
Positive and negative. Like, probably not a good idea to do X, Y, or Z that they did, right? It's probably not a good idea to fall into that trap. But there are these awesome things and these awesome ways that they looked at this in terms of their sport, or, awesome actions that they took that you can definitely draw from. So you can't necessarily hash somebody out because of the mistakes that they've made as a human being, because that's not the whole culmination of who they are. Yeah. I like that.
What you got, Andrew? Take us on out of here?
Yeah. Oh, we didn't even. So, well, thank you to Piedmontese for sponsoring this episode. Check the links down in the YouTube description and iTunes show notes. Please make sure you guys are following the podcast at Mark Bell's Power Project Podcast. That's on Instagram. My personal Instagram is at I am Andrew Z. If you got any questions for me personally, at MB Power Project on TikTok and Twitter. We're on Facebook, LinkedIn, YouTube, all over the place. Thank you to everybody that's been rating and reviewing the podcast on iTunes. I had one pulled up here. Here it is. Right now, a quick shout out to MH Design. MH says, informative, inspiring, and funny. Quote, don't bother trying to listen to this while working out unless you want everyone in the gym to stare at you and wonder why you break out laughing every few minutes. Oh yeah, and they know their stuff. Listen to this podcast only if you want to be inspired and informed. MH, thank you so much for that review. It probably took you 30 seconds to do it, but it is a huge thank you to us.
Thanks, MH.
Yeah, so thank you. If you listening right now, if you want to hear your name and your review read on air, please head over to iTunes right now and leave a rating and a review, and you could hear your name on air, just like MH Design. Nsima, where you be?
At Nsima Inyang on Instagram and YouTube, at Nsima Inyang on TikTok and Twitter. Mark. That's my ASMR voice.
Oh, okay. I was like, what happened? Like,
hey now.
Did you just run out of gas? Like, you just...
Last thing I want to mention about Evan here is that, that 0 to 1 was a really cool thing that he said.
That's cool.
Talking about like Bill Gates, he talked about Microsoft and, they did a lot of stuff with IBM, and that was something that really launched them. But even when they did that, they were already at 7 million. So he wanted to dig deeper and find out, where were they like in the beginning? Like what happened in the beginning? I love that he has that desire to kind of dig that deep, and he did so with like Walt Disney and people that it's kind of hard to find information on. So if you're not following along with what Evan Carmichael has, I think you're really missing out on a lot of great research, a lot of great information. Every pop culture icon you can think of, and every popular person, and every top entrepreneur. You got everyone from like Jay-Z all the way to Gary Vee, right? It's like a wide range of people that he has on there. And I just think there's just so much, he has so much to offer, and there's so much to learn. So why not check out his stuff? Strength is never a weakness. Weakness is never strength. I'm at Mark Smelly Bell. Catch you all later.